Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Bromac Clash, and tonight I want to talk about a topic that has been on my mind for quite some time, and I'm sure many of you have been taught this, or some of you just shrugged it off, or many of you just felt like, man, I should put this topic on the back burner. And that topic is the topic of responsibility. When when you talk about responsibility, who usually comes to your mind, or what comes to your mind? Is it your parents when they tell you be responsible, take care of your stuff, and make sure that you do the right thing? Especially if you have technology or if you have your own video games, they say, now you're responsible for this, all right? Or they say, you see your little brother right there? And the times that we're not here, you be responsible for him, all right? Or when you get old enough, they say, you're responsible for yourself. And we taught you all that we could, and if we didn't teach you enough, there's some things you gotta teach yourself. Now, or when you have a pet, they say like, this is your responsibility. Make sure you feed the cat or dog, chameleon, or whatever animal you have. Make sure you take care of them. That's a part of responsibility. Taking care of yourself. If not yourself, then taking care of other people. You want to know who exemplifies this? And you may say, like certain superheroes such as Spider Man, Superman, Batman, maybe even Black Panther, or a myriad of superheroes. But usually they have somebody to tell them, with great power comes great responsibility. With Peter Parker, aka Spider Man, was, you know, Uncle Ben Parker or Benjamin Parker. He said these famous lines that echoed. Basically, he said, Peter, with great power comes great responsibility. At first, you may say, like, that's a hell of a cliche. Motherfucker, would anybody ever consider those words pretty serious or take them very seriously? If you have powers, then obviously you can do whatever you want with them. Well, let's say you do that and you do whatever you want with those powers. You gotta remember, when you have great powers, they also come with a price. Sometimes you have the unfortunate ability, the unfortunate mindset of thinking that you're better than everyone else. That you think like, you know what, man, let me try to take over the world, which is what most megalomaniac villains have, since they believe that nobody can take them over, or take them down. They just say, oh, let me just take over the world and do whatever the hell I want. I mean, look at some politicians, look at how some people act, look at how some CEOs act. Because they never had that mindset of like, with great power comes great responsibility. And, Clark Kent, Superman, his surrogate parents or his adopted parents taught him that make sure you use your powers for good, which is a form of saying with great power comes great responsibility. Even though what is morally good is is an abstract concept. Just like responsibility, it's pretty much straightforward, but you can spin it into like a different concept. Excuse me. Now, what happens if you lack responsibility? Or you say you want freedom, but you lack direction. Basically, if you have power and you lack responsibility, that's the same as being free without having direction. For real. That's the same. That's what happens. People want power, but they don't want to be controlled. They think being responsible is the same as being controlled, which is not exactly the same because when you're in chains, you can still be a wild animal. Just like when you're free, you can still be responsible. But, people think responsibility is so constricting. Like, people want to say that they want to have sexual freedom, or they want to have drug freedom, or they just want to have freedom in general. But then, don't they ask themselves? Didn't they ask themselves this question, or don't they ask themselves this question like, do I want to be sexually responsible? Do I want to be drug responsible? Do I just want to be responsible in general? Because you don't want to end up like Mookie and Do the Right Thing when he has like a child. He has a job, which is not bad, and it pays him a good amount too. You know, just delivering pizzas and all that. But there was one scene I remember in Do the Right Thing where his sister got on him and saying, "You got to take care of your responsibilities." You want to know what he said? He said, "What responsibilities?" Now, even though that was supposed to be, like a quick jab or just like a throwaway quote just to say like, whatever, man, who cares about responsibilities, or just like I say, just to get back at her. But that's how many people think. They're just like, what responsibilities? I don't have any responsibilities. Who cares about responsibilities? And it's just like, you got to remember, when you lack responsibilities, how can you take accountability for yourself, or how can you hold others accountable? They're going to say, well, look at you. You want to tell me to be responsible, but have you been responsible throughout your whole life? Have you been able to stop your little your drug addiction by yourself? You said like 15 times that you're going to stop doing that. You know, stop smoking crack, stop doing heroin, stop doing drugs in general. Then you want to tell me to stop doing what I'm doing, but yeah, you haven't stopped? That makes you a hypocrite. And that's the problem. People want to be free hypocrites, not responsible people. See, the difference between someone who's free and responsible and somebody who's free and a hypocrite is the fact that someone who's free and responsible actually knows what to do. They actually say, you know what, man, I'm free, but I choose to do the right thing. I choose to be good. Even though people may push drugs in my face, people push sex in my face, people push all this negative shit in my face. Yeah, I know I'm cursing. That's because I choose to curse. But at the same time, do I say, you know what, should I give in? Should I succumb? Should I just be like, you know what, man? No, let me have some fun, man. A little bit of fun won't hurt anybody. But, you got to take into account that, wait a minute, if I do too much of something, even too much of a good thing can be bad. And too much of a bad thing is still bad. Even though they say it should be the opposite, but, you don't want that. But when you lack responsibility, you lack a certain type of restraint that keeps you from doing like extremely terrible things. Because I'm going to admit this, when I was younger, and a little bit to this day, but at the same time, I'm well aware that there are very gray areas. And I'm not saying we are a great race, because there's certainly much more intelligent people out there or out in the universe. You don't even know what the hell is going on out in space, because, the universe is constantly expanding. But, I used to believe that people can be pure good and pure evil. And there are some people who are morally gray regardless. But I still believe that there are people who are good and evil. But at the same time, I'm well aware that everybody has like a gray area. People can be evil sometimes and people can be good sometimes. But it's that one, there are three things that keep people from either doing good or doing evil fully. One of them is responsibility. 2 is desire. And 3, let's just say, is viewpoint. Viewpoints. Because everybody is different. They have different viewpoints in life. Some may be similar, but all in all, you gotta admit, like, you can agree on certain things, but you can disagree on other things. That's what makes, That's what make life pretty beautiful. And where does responsibility come into play? With morals and choices. See, with responsibility, you feel as if like, wait a minute, I should do this for the greater good instead of just doing this for myself. Or I have to do this because it's the right thing to do or it's the good thing to do. But yet, when people talk about, responsibility, they make it sound as if like it's very boring. See, now the thing is, I'm not trying to say that you have to be responsible all the time, but you have to be very diligent. You have to be vigilant. You can't falter. But at the same time, you can have fun. But you got to be responsible too. Meaning that you also have to be well aware. See, when you're responsible, the synonyms for responsible is diligence, vigilance, keenness, and, basically just being overall aware. But, what happens when you have power but no responsibility? Well, obviously you get Trump the chump. Donald Trump, John J. Trump. I wonder if the J stands for jackass. Or you get corrupt politicians, corrupt dictators, and believe it or not, some villains. Even though some villains are in a moral gray area and some villains actually do have a sense of responsibility. But, one notable villain being the Joker. Does he have like a sense of responsibility? To some degree. Matter of fact, to the greatest degree, no. Sure, he has like some good moments, but he also has he has many terrible moments. He's the definition of power without responsibility. Because he's the definition of chaos. Hence why he's random and unpredictable, because you can't really predict what the hell he's going to do. So without responsibility, you become unpredictable. And not only that, you don't even need to use superheroes and supervillains. I'm just using those guys. I'm just using comic book heroes and comic book villains as an example. You can see it in real life, with various dictators, even leaders, various presidents, because responsibility affects everyone. And even if you think responsibility is not important, you got to remember that it affects you just like it affects me. And if you're not responsible, then dangerous shit can happen. Like, for example, and I know I'm going to sound like I'm jumping on the bandwagon, but this segues into, the whole Logan Paul situation. Where Logan Paul basically, let's just say all that influence and all those subscribers must have got to his head and shit. But he was irresponsible in showing off that video in the well-known suicide forest. See, I did not know Japan had a suicide forest until that moment. I was just like, man, but either way, you're not supposed to show somebody committing suicide. And, that's not cool at all. And he put it on the thumbnail and generated all these views. And I'm just like, really, Logan Paul? So you really had all that power, but none of the responsibility? Don't you think that was really irresponsible? And it's just like, you can't do that though, man. That's very irresponsible. That's irresponsible. And with all this sexual allegations, sexual misconduct, sexual assault that's just been brought out into the limelight and onto the forefront, and from Hollywood onto the big screen, what you see on TV, that shows that people in Hollywood basically lack responsibility as well. I guess they got so caught up in the glitz and glamour and quite possibly some of the cocaine and all that shit that they forgot that, wait a minute, we're supposed to be responsible. We're supposed to do the right thing. We're supposed to be stellar examples to the people, even though we're living in a sham too. Yet we're continuing to do our own thing. And to be fair, I have to take accountability for being irresponsible too, because I'm not perfect. But I'm not going to let that imperfection as an I'm not going to use imperfection as an excuse to excuse myself from actually developing myself as a person. Because some people will use being human as an excuse for not being responsible. You heard that all the time excuse, right? Nobody's perfect. So what? You ain't got to be perfect to be responsible. Oh, I'm just only human. Guess what? Human beings need to be responsible too. And people who have so much knowledge, yet they choose to waste it because they expect way too much, yet they get disappointed because they think so little of their fellow man. I was guilty of this. To a small degree, I'm guilty of this because I feel as if, like, is this what we've come to? This is what we have come to, really? The fact that we're talking about how much people are willing to do this whole, quote unquote, Tide Pod challenge. Like, where's the logical reasoning in that? Like, where's the responsibility? Where's the sense of, like, wait a minute, it says do not eat. It's not edible. Where's are people illiterate or something? Or do people think it's cool not to read? I mean, if you want to believe in that childish ideology, then that's you. But to read is a gift. And to have a gift is to be responsible. And when you're responsible, that shows you have a sense of maturity. Thus, you can grow. And when I see, like, the Tide Pod challenge, it's just like, really, man? Were the parents responsible at all, or were they just irresponsible and say, oh, if my child gets famous, at least I'll get some money? I'm just like, here's the problem with your theory. Money doesn't mean shit. I understand that you need money to survive, but when you're not responsible, you tend to let vices and all other matter of shit get into your psyche, get into your soul, get into whatever, basically your mind, and thus your morals become corrupt. And when you lack responsibility, then it becomes more like, what the fuck? Why should I care about how others feel? But when you're in that position where people will say, why the fuck should I care about what the hell you think? Then you're just going to remember, damn, I had a responsibility to do something. And if I didn't do anything about it, if I was more responsible, I could have done something about it. Yeah. And I remember a quote from Dr. King, and I think it goes somewhere along the lines of, like, when there are unjust laws, people have a moral responsibility to disobey unjust laws. It's like somewhere around those lines. And when corruption spreads and good people do nothing because they were irresponsible or they were complacent because they never cared about their own fellow man, that's evil enough. And when you let irresponsibility take over so much that evil spreads, that's the worst case scenario which actually happened. And then you're just like, wow, that's a damn shame. And that's what's happening now. When shit really hit the fan and people realize, now we gotta be really responsible. We had all this time to be responsible. Hell, I know I'm a last minute man. I do things at the last minute, but even I have a responsibility to do something, and I'll just get it finished most of the time. Yeah, at the same time, I have to be responsible. I have my own life. I have dreams. And even dreams require responsibility. And like there was an old saying that goes, dreams mean nothing unless you take action to pull them off. That's where responsibility comes in. You have to take action for certain things to happen. And without responsibility, well, you get three things: corruption, destruction, and just overall a sense of nihilism, because you feel as if I don't really care anymore. And when you don't care, that's when you ultimately fail. But with responsibility, not only you can you can create your own drive. You can take control of your own life. Hell, you can even inspire others. With responsibility, life becomes even more grand. And with that, YouTube, be responsible. Stay up, stay strong. It's Broman Clash. Happy New Year. Even though I am 18 days late, but I want to say Happy New Year. Alright? Stay up, stay strong, stay responsible. Alright? Later.